In 429 AD, the Western Roman Empire was reaching the end of its lifespan. Besieged by enemies on all sides and plagued by corruption from within, the empire was a shadow of its former glory. It was at this time when Genseric, the Vandal, saw an opportunity to strike. His actions and the battles that would follow would shape the very future of the empire. This is Grim Battalia, and you're watching my documentary on the Siege of Carthage and the Battle of Cape Bon, 456 AD. Genseric and his Vandals had been relocated to Hispania at their own requests from the forest of Germania. They sought protection from the many warlike tribes who roamed the area. However, upon reaching Hispania, they were in for a grim surprise. The peninsula was already overflowing with other barbarian tribes who had requested the same protection. Soon, the Vandals discovered that they were not safe in Hispania, and that the Western Roman Empire could offer them little protection against the warlike tribes that now surrounded them. Genseric and his Vandals were enraged. They needed an option. They needed to survive. It was at this point that Governor Bonifacius of Roman Africa sent Genseric a request. He asked Genseric to join him in Africa. He wished to use Genseric's Vandals to overthrow the imperial power and claim the title of emperor for himself. Unfortunately for Governor Bonifacius, Genseric accepted this request. Genseric led his 80,000 Vandals across the sea and into Africa. Once there, they began razing and attacking Roman settlements and killed Bonifacius. Seeing that the Romans were weak, the Vandals saw the perfect opportunity to seize a homeland of their very own. They moved across to Africa with stunning might. Though Rome sent legions against them, they were quickly destroyed by Genseric and his forces. Soon, Emperor Valentinian realized the great danger that his empire was in. Considered one of the last good emperors, he wasn't blind to the threat posed by the Vandals. Africa was the breadbasket of the entire empire. It was used to feed the people of Italy, France, and Spain. Without Africa, his nation would surely starve. It was with this in mind that he drew a line in the sand. He knew he could not let the Vandals advance any further than the shores of Carthage. He sent regiments down to defend the city at all costs and to hold Roman Africa. Genseric's forces attacked. However, they were defeated by the legions. The remainder of his force spread out to the rest of eastern Africa and claimed it for the Vandal homeland. Knowing his position was weak, Emperor Valentinian knew he had to reach a peace deal. Genseric and the Vandals were equally eager to sign a peace deal and to have a land of their own for the first time in a generation. The two met and brokered a peace deal in 429 AD. The deal stated that Emperor Valentinian would recognize the Vandal kingdom as a Roman ally, as long as the Vandals did not encroach upon Roman Carthage. As part of the deal, Genseric and the Vandals agreed that they would provide the Western Roman Empire with a steady supply of food from Africa, and that additionally they would pay them a yearly tribute in exchange for maintaining the peace. After being at peace with the Vandals for a little over a decade, in 441 AD, the Romans again found themselves under fire. Germanic tribes from over Germania began pouring into Gaul, and Emperor Valentinian was forced to ride out to meet this new threat. Sensing a shift in the balance of power in Europe and wanting to be free from the subjugation of the Romans, Genseric and his Vandals took this opportunity to declare war on the Western Roman Empire. His forces moved into Roman Carthage and captured the city for the Vandals. Roman Africa had been lately defended since Emperor Valentinian needed all forces available to help repel the Germanic invasion. However, he was successful and by 442 was able to push the Germanic barbarians out of Gaul and back over the Danube River. Rome claimed victory in their war against these barbarians, but they were unable to retake the land lost in the attacks by the Vandal kingdom. Capitalizing on their victory, the Vandals spread out and captured many of the islands that had once belonged to the Roman Empire, including Sicily and Sardinia, which had been part of the empire for nearly 1,000 years. Weakened by the recent invasion into Gaul, there was little that Emperor Valentinian could do to repel the Vandals from their newly seized territory. The Vandals were extremely adept at naval combat, and the Romans lacked any meaningful navy. With this in mind, Emperor Valentinian knew he had to admit that the Vandals had achieved victory. The Vandals now controlled all of Roman Africa and controlled many islands along the sea. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Mediterranean Sea could no longer be called the Roman Sea. By 467 AD, much had changed for the Western Roman Empire. Again, for the first time in nearly 1,000 years, nobody sat on the throne of the West. Emperor Valentinian had died, leaving no heirs. The de facto ruler of this time became known as King Ricimer. He was a barbarian who had raised the Roman legions and was now the most powerful man in the Western Roman Empire. He asked for Emperor Leo to recognize his right to claim the throne of the West, but Emperor Leo refused. He saw Ricimer as a threat, and above all things, did not want him seated on the throne of the Western Empire. Meanwhile, Genseric and his Vandals committed mass acts of piracy all across the Western Mediterranean, well aware that the Western Roman Empire was too weak to stop them. Perhaps emboldened by the lack of response to their invasion of North Africa and the lack of response to their acts of piracy, Genseric and his Vandals thought that they could pressure Emperor Leo into placing a man that the Vandals wanted as the new emperor of the Western Roman Empire. To achieve this, the Vandals decided to expand their piracy. They spread out and began raiding ports all over Eastern Roman Greece. This did not go over well with Emperor Leo. The Vandals had misjudged the situation. The Eastern Empire was not weak. They had merely been preoccupied fending off attacks from many barbarian tribes and from the Huns, and had been unable to assist the West in their plight. However, now they were awakened, and they were not happy. Emperor Leo decided that he would take it upon himself to finally appoint a new leader to the Western Roman Empire after it had spent the last 2 years in chaos. He appointed Emperor Anthemius, who traveled to Ravenna, crossing through the Alps and picking up many soldiers to help defend his claim to the throne, knowing that King Ricimer would not likely sit idly by while another man was appointed to the throne. With a loyal emperor seated on the west and determined to retake North Africa at all costs, Emperor Leo began preparations to embark on one of the most audacious invasions ever planned. He would build over 1,000 ships and raise over 100,000 men, and with a joint attack from the Western Roman Empire, oust the Vandals and retake all of North Africa for Rome, thus resecuring the empire's grain supply and securing the empire's future and the security of the Mediterranean Sea. This was Grim Battaglia. Join us next time to see Rome embark on one of the biggest sea invasions in its entire history and one of the biggest invasions of mankind. And watch to see how one extremely incompetent admiral manages to botch the entire thing and seal the fate of the Western Roman Empire and set the Eastern Roman Empire back for decades to come. Thank you for watching, and as always, never stop learning. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. Hope to see you next time. Thank you.